Hello and welcome to the Past Functional Skills video solutions for the AQA January 2022 Functional Skills English Level 2 reading paper. Before watching this video, make sure that you've read the 3 sources in the insert and you've attempted to complete the paper yourself. Please note that source B has been removed due to copyright restrictions. Section B, including questions 7 to 11, is not included in this model solution video. Question 1. What is the full name of the teacher mentioned in source A? So for this question, we're looking to find the name of the teacher and it has to be the full name. So the first name and the surname. And we're looking in source A. So we're going to scan the text for any mentions of a teacher. And when we look here, we see that a school teacher is mentioned and her name is Lynn Pittman. So your answer there would be Lynn Pittman. Question 2. You are advised to use a dictionary for this question. Source A states, residents of Paradise in California awoke to a noxious orange atmosphere. In this quotation, the word noxious means innocuous, poisonous, thick, or horrible. And we need to select the correct answer and write the letter in the box. So which of these options means noxious? And what does noxious mean within this quotation? So a noxious orange atmosphere. We can use our dictionary and we can also use source A to discover the meaning of the word noxious. So let's have a look at the source and see if we can get any clues about the meaning. So it says, on 8th of November 2018, residents of Paradise in California awoke to a noxious orange atmosphere and chunks of burning wood falling from the sky. So what does noxious mean? Well, we can get an idea based on the image that's being provided. So we can see that there's lots of smoke in the atmosphere and there's sort of a lot of destruction and harm going on. So that gives us some clues there. And then if we take a look at the dictionary, we can see that there are 2 definitions of noxious. It can either mean morally harmful or corrupting, or it can mean harmful and injurious to health. So we know that a fire cannot be morally harmful, so the second definition, harmful or somewhat injurious to health, is the correct option. So that's what noxious means. Next we have to decide which word has the same meaning. So have a look in your dictionary if you're not sure what any of these words mean. So innocuous means harmless, doesn't cause injury, so it's the opposite of the word noxious there. So that's incorrect. Poisonous means either containing poison or harmful and destructive, and that has a very similar meaning to the word noxious, harmful, injurious to health. So that's the correct option there. C, thick, well that means broad, heavy or dense. So that is incorrect. And finally, horrible. Horrible means unpleasant, shocking or dreadful. But it's not the correct answer. And the reason for this is that poisonous is a closer fit because it's specifically referring to sort of causing harm to somebody's health, whereas horrible doesn't indicate health at all. So the correct answer for this question is B, poisonous. Question 3. The report implies that A, people panicking caused more deaths, B, the firefighters were not good at their jobs, C, the town should have been built in a different place, or D, it was almost impossible to prevent this wildfire. Write the correct letter in the box. So for this question, we're going to read through the source and find out about what it implies. So implicit information is information that the text doesn't say explicitly, but you've got to sort of reason it from the text. So what the text makes you think. So option A, people panicking caused more deaths. Well, if we have a look at the source, we do have some evidence of people panicking because it says it was panic down here, but there is also a mention of people being composed and calm, and there's definitely no mention of people dying as a result of panic. So that is an incorrect option. Option B, the firefighters were not good at their jobs. Well, the firefighters took 17 days to bring the fire under control, and that might suggest that they're not particularly good at their jobs. However, the text really isn't stating that. That's just a fact. It's not including any opinions. It doesn't necessarily suggest that they're bad at their jobs. It just suggests that it was quite a large fire. So that's not the correct option either. Option C, the town should have been built in a different place. Now there are a couple of things that might make you think this, because wildfires are a normal part of the forest ecosystem in California, so maybe you might question why they've built buildings there when there's so many structures being destroyed. However, the source really doesn't give any kind of opinion on this. It doesn't say, oh, maybe the town should have been built somewhere else. So that is an incorrect option. And then finally, it was almost impossible to prevent this wildfire. Now, does the text suggest this? Yes. It says that they're a normal part of the forest ecosystem. So because they're normal, that suggests that they can't really be prevented. And also it says that global warming has contributed to years of drought, leaving forests dry, littered with dead trees. So there's fuel for the fire there. It can't really be stopped. Global warming has created the conditions that will make this fire really likely. So you can infer from the text implies that it was impossible to prevent the wildfire. So the correct answer is D here. Question 4. Using the information in source A, put a tick in the correct box to show whether each statement is true or false. And we've been given the following statements. More than 200 homes were destroyed in 2008. The fire was moving more quickly than the traffic. Paradise has had at least 4 fires in the past 10 years. And the wildfire caused a volcano to erupt. So here we want to use the information in source A, so only use source A. And we want to tick the boxes to show whether the statement is true, so correct, or false, incorrect. So, option 1, more than 200 homes were destroyed. Well, that is false. We can see in the text that more than 200 structures were destroyed. That doesn't necessarily mean homes. That could mean other buildings like hospitals. It could mean police stations, schools, that kind of thing. So that is false. The fire was moving more quickly than the traffic. Well, that's true. We can see here that it says that the fire outpaced them as they tried to drive away. So you've got these cars moving along the road, and if the fire's outpacing them, that means it's going faster than them and they can't escape it. Paradise has had at least 4 fires in the past 10 years. Well, that's true as well. If we have a look at the text, we can see that in the past 10 years, over the past decade, there's been at least 4 fires in Paradise. So a decade is 10 years. If you didn't know that, then you might want to look it up in a dictionary. So that is a true statement. And then finally, a wildfire caused a volcano to erupt. So we'll have a look at the text, scan it for the word volcano. And we can see that here is the mention of the volcano. And it says, a blizzard of ash was falling from the sky as if from a volcano. So that doesn't suggest that a volcano is actually going off. It more suggests that it looked like a volcano was going off. And it's a simile here, and you can tell that by this little phrase, as if from. So it's not literally a volcano going off, it just looks like it. So that is false. Question 5. The writer of source A presents both facts and opinions. Identify 2 facts about the town of Paradise apart from its fires. Okay, so we're looking at source A specifically, and we're looking at the facts and opinions in the source for this question. And first we're asked to find 2 facts about the town of Paradise. And we're not going to include anything to do with fires because the question says apart from its fires. So the difference between a fact and an opinion is that a fact is something that can be proven, it's something true. An opinion is something that you can agree with or you can disagree with it. And opinions usually include adjectives, describing words, that kind of thing. So if we have a look at the source and we try to find some facts, just in this paragraph here, we can see that it starts with a fact. Evacuations were ordered. And then it says, but the situation quickly spiraled into something far more terrifying. Now, that starts with a fact and then the sentence ends with an opinion, because it's an opinion that it ended with something far more terrifying. Terrifying is an adjective, so that means that we can agree with that or we can disagree with it. But we can't disagree with the fact that evacuations were ordered. That's what makes it a fact. We can't disagree. Soon, the flames were being propelled downslope by gale force winds. Now that's also a fact. We can't disagree with that. That is just what happened. A blizzard of ash was falling from the sky as if from a volcano and coating pine trees. Now, this is an opinion. It's true, it's a true fact that ash was falling, but a blizzard of ash, as if from a volcano, that's sort of some vivid imagery there. That's somebody's opinion, that's what it looks like. And coating the pine trees. Embers blown around by the extreme winds started a number of spot fires. Now that is a fact. And the reason that we know this is because we can't disagree with it. We know that the spot fires have been caused by embers, and there's no opinion in that section there. Okay, so the student's written here for a couple of facts that Paradise sits on a high ridge between 2 deep valleys. Now, that is a fact. You can't dispute that. You can't disagree. So that's a good answer. And then the other fact that they've written is there's only one main route out of town. Now that's also a fact. We can't disagree. That is just true. It's just a fact there. And then identify 2 opinions about the wildfire. Opinion 1, a blizzard of ash was falling from the sky as if from a volcano. So we've talked about the sort of imagery there and how that makes that an opinion. It's very descriptive. And then the second one, trees lighting up like matches all around. Now this is a simile. It's again a description, creating a sort of vivid image that you can disagree with. You could say, well, they don't look like matches, they just look like trees on fire. So there we have it. 2 facts and 2 opinions for 2 marks. Question 6. Explain how the writer of source A uses words and language techniques to describe the wildfire. You should provide examples from source A in your answer. So what does this question mean? Well, to start with, we've got that key word, explain. Now, explain means that you have to provide reasons for your answer. So you have to explain how the point you're making is relevant to the quotations that you use. Okay, so we're looking at source A, and we're explaining how words and language techniques have been used to describe the wildfire. Okay, so just focusing on the wildfire here and the description aspect of the text. And then providing examples, well, that just means using quotes, using evidence from the source. So, the student has written that the writer uses emotive language such as achingly dry and the quote, "It was panic," to show how devastating the fire was for the people of paradise, and to encourage readers to feel the panic and aching feeling that they felt. Metaphors such as a choking, swirling shroud and similes like trees lighting up like matches are used to help the reader picture the devastation. The shroud creates an image of death as it relates to a funeral shroud, while the image of trees like matches shows how quickly the fire spread. So, why is this a good answer? The students identified straight away a language technique. Achingly dry is a direct quote from the text, so they're providing examples. And they've also used another quote here, "It was panic." And these are both good examples of emotive language. You can see aching, that's to do with emotion, and so is panic, to show how devastating the fire was for the people of paradise. Now this part here is the explanation. So you're explaining how this point here, how these techniques are creating an effect on the reader. What is the effect of these? How is it being used to describe the wildfire? So the students really shown how the source makes them think and how it makes them feel about the fire. So it shows them how devastating the fire is and it encourages them to feel that feeling. The second paragraph, they've identified that there's metaphors in the source and they've given an example, a choking, swirling shroud. And they've also identified similes and given an example of a simile, trees lighting up like matches. And then they've explained here that they help the reader picture the devastation. So these images, the image of the shroud relating to death, and the image of trees relating to how quickly the fire spread. So it's really important for this question that you don't just identify the technique correctly and provide examples, but you also give a short explanation of the effect that the text is having on you as a reader. Question 12. You are advised to use a dictionary for this question. Source C states that firefighters also need to be versatile. In this quotation, the word versatile means A, strong, B, adaptable, C, clever, or D, careful. Write the correct letter in the box. Okay, so this question is telling us to use a dictionary and look at this quotation from source C and identify the meaning of the word versatile. So what would we do for this question? Well, we would have a look and see the definition for versatile in a dictionary. And versatile has two different meanings. The first is that it means able to transition easily between tasks or fields. And the second definition is having many possible uses. Well, because we're talking about firefighters, we're talking about people here. We're not talking about objects. So firefighters don't have different uses. They are able to transition easily between tasks or fields. So we would have a look at these words here and see which one closely matches that definition. So firstly, strong. Well, strong doesn't really tell us that they can transition between tasks easily, so that's not a correct answer. Adaptable. Now, adaptable means the same as versatile. It means that they can transition between tasks. And if you didn't know the meaning of the word adaptable, you could have a look at that word in the dictionary as well. C, clever. Well, it might be quite clever to be able to adapt, but it's not quite the same meaning as versatile. And careful. Well, no, it doesn't mean careful. Careful means that they'd probably take care when doing tasks, not being able to transition between tasks easily. So the answer here is B. Question 13. A firefighter's main job is to put out fires. From source C, list 3 other tasks a firefighter might do. Okay, so we're looking at source C and we're being asked to identify some information. We're being asked to find 3 tasks that a firefighter might do. So if we have a quick look at the source, we can see that the main role of firefighters is to extinguish fires, but we're looking for 3 other roles. So they might be required to deal with chemical spillages, so that's one of their roles, and road traffic collisions, that's another one, which might involve using cutting equipment to free a trapped driver or passenger. So that's another example. They might use cutting equipment to free these passengers. Make sure that you don't put road traffic collisions and this answer together because they relate to the same topic there. That's the same thing. They relate to collisions. And then if we scroll down in the text and have a look at this section, we can see that they also work in the community to prevent fires. And they do this by visiting people to educate them about fire prevention. And they give them advice on smoke alarms. And they also assist with identifying and planning escape routes. Finally, they train fire wardens in schools, community centres and libraries. So there's lots of different options that you could put down for this question. This student has said that they deal with road traffic accidents, which is correct as we've seen from the source, educate people about fire prevention and rescue people from burning buildings. So these are all correct answers and this student would get 3 marks. Question 14. Compare source A and source C in terms of what they say and how the material is conveyed. You may wish to refer to the level of detail, presentation and language, formality, possible bias, and how the writers come across. So this is a 6-mark question, so we want to spend quite a long time on it. So we need to compare 2 sources. So we need to mention source A and source C, and we need to use comparative words and identify similarities and differences between them. We need to compare what they say, so what topic are they talking about and how are they talking about it, and then how the material is conveyed, which means that we need to identify any sort of organisational features, whether the material is formal or informal, how detailed it is, and if there are any language features that have been used, such as similes or metaphors, facts or opinions, anything about how the material is put across to the reader. And we are told that we can refer to the level of detail, presentation and language, formality, possible bias, and how the writers come across. Now you don't have to talk about all of these different things because we want to explain what they're saying and how the material is conveyed, and it would take quite a long time to analyse all of these different features. So make sure that you're just choosing a few aspects of the question that you're familiar with. So for example, if you're not sure about the difference between a formal text and an informal text, then you wouldn't want to talk about formality because your answer could be inaccurate. So let's have a look at the answer. The student's written here that source A informs the reader about a specific wildfire and describes the fire, while source C informs the reader about what firefighters are like and what they do. Source A uses facts such as destroyed 14,000 homes to inform readers about a wildfire, and uses a range of language techniques such as the metaphor a blizzard of ash to create a serious tone and help the reader picture just how devastating the wildfire was. Contrastingly, source C is much less descriptive and presents facts and opinions such as it's important that people have an escape route in a detached, impersonal style. Source A is more formal than source C. Source A is most likely from a newspaper or online article with a formal tone, as it does not use informal language, except briefly in a quotation from a schoolteacher, or contractions. Source C presents a casual dialogue, which includes slang such as bloke and contractions like we're to engage with the reader in an informal podcast. Source A is more detailed than Source C, as Source A conveys a wide range of facts and figures about a specific fire, while Source C gives a generic Q&A about the role of a firefighter more generally. So this is a quite detailed answer. You probably wouldn't have to write quite this much, but this is a very good answer for several reasons. So to begin with, both Source A and Source C have been mentioned, and comparative words like while have been used to indicate to the examiner that the student is comparing. So while suggests a difference, and contrastingly, that word suggests differences between the sources as well. And then comparisons, direct comparisons like Source A is more formal than Source C have been used, and more detailed as well. So lots of differences have been mentioned here. What else makes it a good answer? Well, it's used quotations from the text to give evidence. So the first sentence says that Source A informs the reader about a specific wildfire, and Source C informs the reader about firefighters. So the student has addressed what both of the sources say. A specific wildfire and firefighters are the topics of the sources. And then they've identified how the material is conveyed. So they've identified that Source A is using facts and a range of language techniques like metaphors, and has given an example here. And they've also gone on to state the effect of this. So creating a serious tone, helping the reader to picture how devastating this wildfire was. So this explanation really helps to level up the answer and to make the examiner impressed. Okay, so Source C is much less descriptive, presenting facts and opinions. Well, this is again how the material is conveyed, and comparing with Source A, the student has identified that it's a much less descriptive source as Source C, and it's presenting facts and opinions. And also it's included evidence from Source C in the answer here. And then the second paragraph talks about formality, so addressing this part of the question. Now you don't have to address all of these, it says you may wish to refer to these, but it might help you in your answer. So the students identified that Source A is from a newspaper or online article with a formal tone. So here we've got the text type identified, and this is compared with Source C, which identifies the text type of a podcast and is more casual, more informal. And they've explained their answer quite well here, because they've mentioned that Source A does not use informal language and Source C does use informal language, and they've given some examples from the text, as well as explaining the effect of this, saying that this makes the reader engaged with the text. And then finally, the level of detail is talked about, so kind of explaining very simply, identifying the different levels of detail in the text. They could probably provide a little bit more of an explanation here, but there's already quite a lot of detail in these two paragraphs, so they would definitely get 6 marks for this question.